Hi everyone, Queeveen here from the comfort of my kitchen. In today's video, we are looking into the future to check out an event that was suggested by a commenter. We're just jumping a couple of decades into the future and we are looking at the 21st of August, so we don't need to worry too much about the date. I have been suggested a particular location to view this event from, and we are going to be looking at the moon. But before we take a look at this event from the suggested location, let's just see if we can see anything from here in Ireland. So from here, it looks like we're getting a crescent moon very near to Venus in the sky, and it is setting. That's just about all we're getting from here in Ireland on this date from the moment the moon rises. But that's okay. I was told to look from a specific location and at a specific time. So hopefully the time that I was given was the local time and I won't need to convert it from UTC. These are all still showing locations that are on the moon. So you can see plenty of different locations listed there for the moon, but we're not on the moon. Not anymore, not since the previous video. So we are going to the southern hemisphere, though not particularly far into the southern hemisphere. And we are in the eastern hemisphere as well. So let's just get these as close as possible. And hopefully this is going to be good enough and this is close enough to the correct location for it to count. I don't need to worry about being too exact, of course, when it comes to these minutes and seconds of arc, especially the seconds of arc. We're already looking at very specific locations. Degrees of longitude and latitude are quite big, but once we get down to minutes and seconds, it certainly is a lot less. So the moon, it seems, has set. We have Mars and Saturn here. Let's move forward. Oh, we've gone forward into the 22nd. So let's hop back to the 21st and we'll come round to sunrise on the 21st. We're looking at a very narrow crescent moon, so it's not going to be too far from the sun. And I do believe it was 7 p.m. that I was told to look for the moon, but we'll follow it from when it rises. Here we go. It already looks a little interesting. There seems to be a bright spot there, but that's a visual artifact. So we'll move through time and, oh, there's the moon and Venus really, really close together. And an occultation of Venus by the moon. Oh, it's only a partial one, but still, that is definitely a pretty rare one. In fact, I think a partial occultation like this might be even nicer, showing all of the cracks and craters of the moon there and Venus visible with the moon very clearly right next to it. So we can see how close their apparent approach is, with Venus just skimming the terminator of the moon here, just as the sky gets dark from pretty close to the equator. We're definitely down here in Africa at the moment. Let's take a look and see how that would appear through a telescope or a binoculars, because of course telescopes and binoculars are going to limit your field of view, so you won't be able to see as much at the same time. But with a very, very big telescope and with plenty of help from eyepieces and other things, that is an amazing view that's coming up in 2050. This does look really, really good, especially seeing the terminator of the moon, this boundary here where we can see all of the shadows of the cracks in the craters. Seeing that with Venus is amazing. But I am going to be greedy and see if I can fiddle around with the location to see if I can put Venus behind the moon. Chances are I won't be able to do this. Of course, messing around with these things, you do need to be very, very precise, and there's only so much change you can get with parallax. There's only so much difference that it's going to make. So it looks like we're getting a slightly different view here, but I don't think it's making too much difference in terms of the position of Venus. Here we go. So moving just a little bit further south and we are getting something. So that is Venus going behind the moon. So let's see if we can watch this occultation happening, because it is now an occultation. So there's Venus coming in, slipping behind the moon, and emerging out the other side. So I did have to change the location there by just a couple of degrees, but it is enough to get the occultation of Venus. The occultation of Venus is very nice, but the close approach, especially given that we have this sort of crescent Venus, this not full Venus with the not full moon as well, I think that almost makes it a little bit more impressive, being able to see Venus and the moon together at the same time, both in a sort of different phase, but both in a phase, a half Venus, crescent moon facing down towards the sun. That is an impressive thing to catch, and it's visible there nice and high in the evening sky just a little after 7 o'clock from this location. So again, just to double check, we'll take a look at the map, and yeah, we're down here at the coast of Africa, very, very close to the equator on the coast of the Indian Ocean. So that is the location to see this. If you're going to be waiting for 2050, if you are going to be holding out for this particular event, it is going to take a while, but it is happening on this date in the far future. So while we're here, I'll see if it is visible from a broader range of locations, or at least if something similar is visible from a broader range of locations. So we'll hop around a little bit more roughly, rather than simply changing the numbers of latitude and longitude. We'll hop around a little bit. That brings Venus certainly a bit further from the moon, but they're still visible together in the sky. There's the occultation, of course there's Venus really behind the moon. Let's take a look and see how this appears. We've moved back into daytime there, but this could be an interesting one. I definitely understand why the commenter suggested the location. Here we can see that this event begins during the day when Venus wouldn't be visible. Once the sky gets dark, Venus emerges out the other side. So that will still look really impressive as Venus emerges from being occulted by the moon. If you have a powerful enough telescope, there comes Venus pushing out from just behind the moon. So it is very, very clear. And of course, Venus is big enough and bright enough to be visible as a small dot, even through smaller telescopes. So if we're taking a look at the moon here, with a much smaller telescope that actually allows us to see things, we'll reduce the oculars here as well. This is pretty perfect. So if we move through time here, we can see the sky getting brighter for daytime, but Venus is definitely visible as a very bright object emerging from behind the moon. And it doesn't take too long to happen, even moving forward at real speed here. Venus is going to emerge from behind the moon fairly quickly over the course of just a few minutes. 15-20 minutes, let's say. So we'll move forward a tiny bit faster here, just so that it definitely happens. There we go. So there's Venus emerging. We'll pull back. There's a little bit of light from Venus just as we come up to 7 o'clock, and we can see Venus fully emerging there over the course of about 3 minutes. So as long as you start close enough to Venus emerging, it'll only take about 5 minutes for Venus to pop out, which is a realistic amount of time to wait looking at the moon through a telescope. I feel like it is an unrealistic amount of time to wait while doing a YouTube video. I'm not going to sit here in silence for 5 minutes watching Venus emerge from behind the moon. But we can see Venus and the moon there very close together, thanks to the position of the terminator on the Earth, thanks to where the sun is shining, where the sunset is. As we move around here, we may move into daytime. It looks like this position is good, but I'm pretty confident this is another position where the beginning would be obscured by the light of the day, and it is. We definitely can't see Venus when the sky is that bright, but we can still see Venus emerging from the bottom of the moon. So it looks like a good portion of southeastern, eastern, coastal Africa is going to be able to see this particular occultation of Venus by the moon, but it does look like the location we started at, and I think we're getting pretty close. This is pretty close to the location we started at. The location we started at, where Venus simply skims the moon without actually touching down completely, that is a pretty nice view. So hopefully in 2050 we all remember to get our cameras ready and take a trip to Africa to see this. I hope that you enjoyed watching this simulation of it here. If you did enjoy this video, then please do like it. If you like this kind of content, then please subscribe to this YouTube channel, and you can read this information on my website, queevinscontent.ie. Thank you very much for watching, and hopefully I'll see you back here next time.